treated to musical chairs of getting $1 billion here, $1 billion here, but we stood firm for you. I want to plead with you to ensure a fiduciary responsibility. The money that we are sending to the counties, that money must reach the poorest of the poor. It is sad when we sit here and burn midnight oil to make sure that we fight for you to get that money. But when we call you to come and account, it becomes long stories. And when you have the money, you don't do what is supposed to be done. This Senate has done its job. A lot of people, Madam Speaker, do not understand the work of senators. They think the work of senators is to run around fundraisings, villages on a daily basis. Our work is to be able to put discipline in institutions. We have managed, Madam Speaker, to make sure that we send more money to counties. We have managed, Madam Speaker, to make sure that we develop legislations that will support the current and future generations. It now behooves the county governors also to play their role. This money does not belong to them. A lot of governors run counties as if it's their personal kiosk. It is not. This Senate, particularly the Committee of Park, has managed to be able to compromise, and instead of sticking to the cash basis of accounting, to go into the accrual basis of accounting because of the trade payables or pending bills that are choking this economy. We move from pending bills to trade payables. It doesn't change. It's still the same thing. So, Madam Speaker, county assemblies, do your job. Ensure that these trade payables become the first charge of the account, so that the money that we send to you, don't start new projects if you've not paid suppliers. A lot of people are committing suicide, Madam Speaker. That's the reality. You go and take a loan, you're auctioned, and you took a loan because the law, the PFM Act, the Public Procurement and Asset Disposable Act, prohibit any county government or any institution to prepare for services. In fact, it's not even like going to the shop. And maybe we might want to consider a situation where I deliver a bottle of milk, you pay me. I deliver a bottle of water, you pay me. But this business where we have legislation that will allow you have to tender. Once you tender, you supply everything, and then now you start billing. When you are billing, and these senators send money to the counties to pay you, they start telling you stories of, oh, the money is in IB. Oh, the problem is the control of budget. You know? The same discipline that the Ministry of Transport has been able to instill in its system, whereby there are no current pending bills of all road contractors, is the same thing that we need to borrow to send to our counties. A county that will stand here and say, we do not owe anybody money is a county, or rather a county governor, would be one that would be seen as wanting to grow and to narrow the gap between the rich and the poor. Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I want to plead with my colleagues to support this motion so that we can be able to complete division of revenue, start immediately the process of CARA, and then after CARA is done, we do the cash disbursable schedule, and then send money to counties. And then from there, we can now follow up and we can be able to ask questions. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you, Senator Ledama. Honorable Senators, I have a communication from the Chair on a visiting delegation of teachers and students from Genda Mixed Secondary School from Murang'a County, the county where yours truly comes from. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon a visiting delegation of 4 teachers and 92 students from Geda Mixed Secondary School in Murang'a County. The delegation is visiting the Senate for an academic exposition. On behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome to the delegation and wish them a fruitful visit. I will now request Senator Karungo Dango from the neighboring county to welcome this delegation, together with Senator Consolata Wako-Bubi, who is a former teacher.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I take this opportunity to welcome the delegation from Murang'a, that is Genda School. Yes, I'm the Senator of Kiambu. Kiambu neighbors Murang'a, Thika, Madam Speaker, and Senator Nyoto was here, who is your senator, a very aggressive senator, and someone who stands for his people. He was here a few minutes ago, so I'm given this opportunity to welcome you on his behalf. And he had told me that for sure he will continue fighting for his people in Murang'a, and especially when it comes to education, because he understands that once we have an educated lot, counties becomes better. So mine is to say welcome, and whenever you are around Kiambu, come and say hi. Thank you.
Senator Wako-Bubi. Clerk, can you give her the mic?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to welcome the visiting delegation to the Senate. On my own behalf and on behalf of the Senate, I wish to welcome you cordially to the Senate, and I expect that your learning experiences and whatever you are going to share from the Senate will form a springboard for your future development as aspiring leaders in this country. Formerly as a teacher, I like impressing so much on discipline, teamwork, and unity amongst all the education stakeholders. So remember, as you get back to your schools, you must have borrowed the best practices from the Senate. Look at the way the honorable senators are deliberating inside here, and I know you'll be motivated to go and work smart. On behalf of the Senate, I also want to wish you well in your studies, or rather in your academic pursuits, and I want to encourage you to shun bad manners. Because of recent times, we've witnessed a wave of unrest in schools. Please learn to dialogue, learn to share with your teachers, with your mentors, and anybody within the school setting on whatever grievances you have amicably, so that they are sorted out amicably. Otherwise, I want Senator, Honorable Speaker, I'm getting a lot of disturbance from Senator Mundigi and Senator Tabitha.
Senator Tabitha and Senator Mundigi, please maintain order. Finish. Finalize, Senator Consolata.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the protection. I wish I had a cane, but then I don't have one. So I want to wish you well in your studies, and thank you, teachers and the stakeholders who have accompanied our dear students. With love from the Senate, thank you.
Senator Consolata, you sound like you are reintroducing the cane from the floor of Senate. Thank you, Senator Consolata. Senator Sifuna.
Madam Speaker, thank you for letting me take after teachers. You know, I am a son of a teacher myself. Speaker, these days sections of the media in this country call me the embattled Secretary General of ODM. And the matter that is before consideration this morning on the Senate is part of where my problems began. You know, Speaker, on the 22nd of July 2025, I appeared on one of his popular shows on Citizen TV and declared a very famous MOU dead because I was growing continuously exasperated at the pace or lack thereof of implementation of that MOU. One of the critical things or provisions of that MOU, Honorable Speaker, was that a promise was made to my party and my former party leader, the late Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, that in fact, because ODM believes in devolution and we call ourselves the party of devolution, that in the financial year 2025-2026, we were expecting that counties would receive 450 billion Kenya shillings in allocation. Speaker, I ran into a lot of problems on the floor of this House during debate in March of this year after the meeting that happened at KICC that sought to extend that MOU. And I remember saying on the floor of this House that I was extremely embarrassed. I was extremely embarrassed that my colleagues in this House were present at KICC, clapping and ululating when the head of state was saying counties are going to receive 450 billion Kenya shillings, and yet we could not see the money. In fact, my senior, the senator from Narok, the Honorable Edamo Lekina, almost, he almost skinned me alive. But here we are now. I want to make it clear, Honorable Speaker, that my entire tribulations and trials in the ODM party are because of my continued insistence on implementation of the promises that were made by none other than the head of state to the family of devolution, to the ODM party, and most significantly, to the late Raila Amolo Odinga. Honorable Speaker, what is most embarrassing is that Baba is being betrayed by his own people. By his own people. On this one, I'm not even going to blame William Ruto. For the first time, I am going to excuse the president on this one. We thought as members of ODM that after we have the head of treasury coming from ODM, and he's a former chairman of ODM, shame on you, Honorable Mbadi. You have shamed Baba. Because wherever he is right now, he's wondering, how is it possible that my main man is the head of treasury, and they're the ones taking us around in circles here? It is even further annoying that the head of budget, the chair of budget in the National Assembly, Samuel Atandi, member of parliament from Alego, elected on ODM, is the one betraying Baba's dream to see 450 billion Kenya shillings going to devolved units. I am deeply embarrassed as the SG of ODM, that our own members can be the ones frustrating the dream of Raila in trying to make sure that resources are devolved to counties. I was following the mediation process, Honorable Speaker, and it is Samuel Atandi who is repeatedly telling us that there is no money to give senators, or not senators, to give counties. It is extremely embarrassing. Madam Speaker, yesterday we had a debate here on another bill, the Feeds and Food Safety Bill, and we were lamenting here that the National Assembly always trashes the reasoning of the Senate on every single matter. So, Madam Speaker, I look at this report of the Mediation Committee, look at the reasoning of the National Assembly as to why we cannot be given 450 billion as a family of devolution. They have given two reasons there. At paragraph 7 of that report, Honorable Speaker, you will see that they are saying revenue shortfalls. They have given revenue shortfalls as one of the excuses. And then they have said that the House observed that the allocation of 420 billion as the equitable share to county governments was informed by prioritizing of expenditures of national interest, including public debt obligations and other national commitments. When the National Assembly defines national interest, the counties don't feature anywhere as an ingredient of national interest. Then you go to page 3 of that report, Honorable Speaker, and you see the reasoning of the Senate. From paragraph 11, we have taken time to explain to the National Assembly why counties need these resources. These guys just do voodoo math. They just pull numbers from the air. Whereas the Senate sits down and tells them point by point why we need this extra allocation. Number one, there are mandatory obligations that have been put on the Senate, including, Honorable Speaker, annual salary adjustments of county government workers. They are always here at our gate, protesting because counties are unable to honor their obligations under CBS. Additionally, county governments are in arrears in implementing the third and fourth remuneration and benefits review cycle as recommended by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, amounting to 10 billion Kenya shillings. We gave another reason. We thought that it would find favor with Atandi and his friends. Joint funding of national government programs that counties are expected to finance mandatory obligations, including KIPES, CHPs, FLOCA, and food systems resilience projects. Speaker, I heard the senator from Narok during his submissions saying, oh, counties have to find a way to accommodate national government when it comes to some of these projects, the counties that need these KIPES. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, sorry, we have members of the County Public Accounts Committee in this House. We have had governors, such as the good governor from Makueni, the Honorable Mutula Kilonzo, appearing before us and telling us that in Makueni they specifically told the national government that they did not need that county aggregation and industrial parks. But because the national government has said they have to be built, in fact, if you look at the design of those KIPES, it is the same throughout all the counties. So for them, really, the interest is in the building, not whether they are a necessity in these counties. So it was forced down his throat, and he has to accept and to co-finance it, even though it is not in the interest of the people. Then we have said that there is a need for stability and predictable county budgets. Honorable Speaker, we in this Senate passed a very useless bill called the disbursement schedule. Every single year, not a single year has the National Treasury, led by that John Badi, Honorable Speaker, ever honored the disbursement schedule that we pass in this House. We just pass these laws to tick boxes. When has the Treasury, the National Treasury, ever complied with that disbursement schedule? And then sometimes you'll hear very senior people in government, they go around in rallies and saying, counties, we are up to date with their disbursement. And yet the county governors come and tell us a very different story, Honorable Speaker. We can go on and on, but the Senate always presents very reasoned arguments as to why we need this money. And then you have Samuel Atandi there, the chair of budget, waiting for you. He says, oh, there is no money today. He goes for lunch, comes back, says, oh, we will add 1 billion. He just pulls figures from there. There is no scientific process in Atandi's head that results in the allocations under this particular bill, Honorable Speaker. So it is deeply embarrassing. And I want the people of Kenya to know that the people who are betraying the dream of devolution are members of ODM. They are the ones betraying the dream of devolution. If Samuel Atandi, as the chair of budget, put his foot down, and he comes from Siaya, he passes by Raila's grave every day. Can you imagine, Honorable Speaker? This is somebody who comes from Siaya. He calls himself Baba's child. In fact, I was seeing on social media, even the DJs who perform at their events are not being paid. And I want Atandi to see me on TV there. If he doesn't pay that DJ by the end of this week, he will see that DJ in Thika, because Nitalinda will DJ. It is embarrassing, deeply embarrassing, Honorable Speaker. They even go around crying that, oh, the national government has refused to pay ODM the 12 billion shillings that is owed under the political parties fund. You are the ones in charge of the basket. You are the ones in charge of the basket. It's like you going home, Honorable Speaker. You are the one who has the basket, and you can't even put aside some flour for your own children. They are looking at you giving other people money, and your own children are starving. You are the ones in charge of the basket, Atandi, and Honorable Mbadi. For heaven's sake, you are embarrassing us as a party. We are embarrassed. Instead of crying like the rest of us here, why don't you just take the money and put it in the budget? And then they tell us that there are shortfalls in revenue. Honorable Speaker, I will not tire in saying how much embarrassed I am as a Secretary General of ODM. The National Assembly, Honorable Speaker, uses 4 methods to deny counties money. The first one is the base amount that they use to calculate the revenue. Article 203 of the Constitution, sub-article 2, says that in every financial year, counties should not receive less than 15% of the revenue that has been received, audited, and approved. Now, what they do is they ensure that they are never up to date. They are never up to date with the audited reports. We here in the Senate, the County Public Accounts Committee, of which I'm a member, is proudly chaired by a member of ODM who understands what ODM stands for, the senator from Homa Bay, Moses Kajwang. We in this House have already adopted And we did adopt, Honorable Speaker, the last year's financials, Honorable Speaker, the audited accounts of counties, we adopted them in March. We are up to date. Even in our meetings right now, we are only looking to see, in terms of follow-up, where these counties are. Can you imagine, Honorable Speaker, if you look at that report, that the amount that is being used to calculate the share to county governments is from 2022-2023 financial year. And I'm not quite sure who chairs the County Public Accounts Committee in the National Assembly. I suspect it's also another member of ODM. Yes, the Honorable Tindi Mwale. He's embarrassing us as a political party because it is his responsibility and the responsibility of his committee to ensure that they are up to date. These are the people who are letting down Baba. These are the people who are killing the dream of devolution. Honorable Speaker, these are the people who should be held before the disciplinary committee of the party, not Sifuna. Not Sifuna for insisting that we need to implement the MOU that Baba signed himself. The second thing, Honorable Speaker, is borrowing. Just before I depart from that issue of the base amount, because, Honorable Speaker, if you look at the revenue for 2022-2023, it is stated to be 2.050 trillion Kenyan shillings. If they were using current audited accounts, in the last financial year, Honorable Speaker, we were at 2.571 trillion. That is not an insignificant amount. That's over 571 billion Kenyan shillings. It's not an insignificant amount. And if you applied 15% on that amount, you would see the revenue of counties going up. The second thing is the question of borrowing, Honorable Speaker. As we know, even yesterday, when we were debating this bill on food safety, one of the reasons that was advanced by the National Assembly on why county governments and their departments cannot be considered authorized entities, they said that they are not recognized internationally. Now, when it comes to borrowing in this country, the only level of government that is able to borrow, especially from foreign markets, Honorable Speaker, is the national government. So the counties are unable to access this, but when it comes to the calculation of the shareable revenue, first the national government takes away what they call national interest and national obligations in repayment of debt. And one of the arguments that I have made is that whereas under the family of devolution, we can see a schedule of 47 counties, and we know Muranga has gotten X, Bungoma has gotten Y, Nairobi has gotten Y. We don't see a similar schedule of the spending or expenditure of this debt that we have accumulated in projects across our counties. If you ask the people of Bungoma, do they know how much money is spent in Muranga or in Mandera? From the national basket, they don't. And when people complain, you hear some other people saying, oh, but you also get money. What have you done with the money that we've allocated to you? This figure of 424 is insignificant compared to the amount that is retained by the national government. And so nobody should be able to make those arguments. In fact, I want to make a promise here that once we establish government in 2027, one of the things we are going to do, Honorable Speaker, is to make sure that we only use the resources that we raise. This issue of borrowing is the one that is also killing devolution. And when you ask National Treasury, our friend John Badi will go to, what is it called, Jivanji here, and sell lies to Kenyans, open lies about the state of debt in this country. We will also, Honorable Speaker, have to assail the public expenditure in this country so that we can do away with this borrowing. If Mwai Kibaki was able to balance our budget, Honorable Speaker, it can be done. It can be done. We see a lot of wastage in this country. We see a lot of lages just being thrown around. Can you imagine, Speaker? I don't know if I can ask the Speaker a question directly, but the rules don't allow. Madam Speaker, just think, when was the last time you replaced the roof of your house? Then there is this specter where somebody replaces the roof of State House every 2 weeks because he has the money. If he doesn't like the color because it has rained and it has faded, somebody just decides, oh, we don't like the shape of the roof. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. In fact, we were discussing with one of the senators here. Madam Speaker.
What's your point of order, Senator Abdul? Abdul, what's your point of order?
Thank you, Speaker. My point of order is on the content of speech of Senator Sifuna, and I was really following his contribution, which was very good until the point where he decided not to give us facts on the issue of changing the roof every 2 weeks. Can the senator please substantiate that? Because it's kind of ridiculous to make such a statement when we, I don't know, maybe Cherargei knows if the roof in State House is being changed every 2 weeks. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Abdul. Senator Sifuna, you have made a sweeping allegation of roof being changed every 2 weeks. Can you substantiate?
Madam Speaker, I wanted it to sound ridiculous so that it can actually puncture the conscience of these members of this House. It might not be every 2 weeks.
Senator
but Madam Speaker,
Sifuna, you may proceed
yes,
then to withdraw
let
that statement.
Let me not say every 2 weeks, Madam Speaker, because I don't have that evidence.
So can you
but
withdraw
in the life
it?
of this Parliament,
Withdraw that statement.
I have withdrawn.
Okay, proceed.
Madam Speaker, in the life of this Parliament, we have seen changes to State House more than we have seen in the past 10 years. And that's the point I was making. In fact, we were joking even here in Parliament, and the members of the Secretariat of the Senate don't like me talking about Parliament. Since I came into this Parliament, that main door there has changed more times than I can remember. I mean, which senator complained about the door? We even have a new desk that I don't know if it is the Sergeant at Arms who liked that new design, but at the end of the day, Madam Speaker, Kenyans can see that there is a lot of wastage and unnecessary expenditure in the way we manage our finances. And then somebody comes and says, we cannot deal with taxation because if we are not able to tax you more, that programs will collapse. If we can reduce taxes and decide that we will go and get one Mabati roof that can last 10 years, I am sure there is Mabati that can last 10 years. I remember my mom's house, where we built it, I think 10, 15 years ago. We have never replaced the roof. I will go to that same supplier if indeed we need to buy a roof for State House. Honorable Speaker, let me conclude by discussing the question on, I'm being informed that there's also the question of flowers. I don't know if Cherargei has details, but let me address delays in release of Exchequer, Honorable Speaker. This is the other way that they frustrate devolution. That we will sit here and make noise. There'll be a lovely figure there. They're saying, oh, 424 billion that is coming to counties. But there is no way counties can predict when they are going to receive this money. And it is very difficult to run counties in an unpredictable fashion. If you don't know, for instance, if senators didn't know when you're going to be paid, how would you know when to settle your obligations for rent, for school fees, for the other things? So it is wholly difficult. And we place the blame squarely at Treasury, because the National Treasury behaves as if it is the national government treasury and not the treasury for all of us. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, there is a refusal to devolve functions. And Senator Mungatana has taken us through many, many examples of refusal to fully devolve functions. And Speaker, I will reiterate that in fact the full unbundling of functions was one of the conditions in the expired MOU. These are the things that bring me problems, because I remind the party, I remind members of ODM that that is what Baba signed up for. We have had fights here with members of the National Assembly, again, Honorable Speaker, over the road maintenance levy fund, because the Constitution only recognizes 2 levels of roads. It's national roads and county roads. We are supposed to only have 2 levels of funding. They are supposed to take care of the national highways and the trunk roads, and counties are supposed to do the roads in the counties. Can you imagine, Madam Speaker, that in Nairobi, we have KERA doing roads, Kenya Rural Roads Authority, doing roads in Nairobi. Under what definition does a road in Nairobi fall under rural road? Yeah? And the Honorable Raila was very clear, because he's the one who brought these road agencies. He said they became obsolete after the promulgation of the new constitution. They need to be wound up. We will continue to defend that legacy, Honorable Speaker, even if it costs us our lives. We want people to know that we will defend the things that Mzee used to believe in, including this. With those main remarks, I refuse to support this report. The Senate committee should have done more to get us the money that was promised by the head of state. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Sifuna. Now we can have Senator Abbas.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also want to join my colleagues to discuss the issue of this report. First and foremost, I want to thank the members of the committee, the mediation committee, for the struggle they have made. But I have a right on that. Honorable Speaker, constitutionally, allocations to counties, according to Article 203, it's actually a constitutional right for the counties to receive more than 15% of money, of the revenue collected. But however, every financial year, we go for mediation. I don't see why. The CRA is there to calculate what is going to the counties and what is going to the National Assembly. And therefore, there's no need for every time to go to mediation. The National Assembly assumes they have all the right that they allocate at the will of the National Assembly and not at the Constitution. And that one shall not be there. Honorable Speaker, one other thing is that the audit account that we are using to allocate funds is 21-22. The shareable account, money being allocated. Again, the same National Assembly have failed to approve the latest audited report that has been sent by the Auditor General's Office. And that should have been the case, been the money that we should be using to base the shareable allocations to both governments. Honorable Speaker, mediating for 428 billion is actually not enough for the counties. One thing you know, Madam Speaker, is that the counties hold the majority of Kenyans, the population is in the counties. If you look at the services that you're providing, I don't know the National Assembly, the government, what they want to do, the 80% of the revenue that is collected, allocated. I think the Kenyans are getting service through the counties. And that's why we have now devolution. And that's why we have to allocate more money. If not all, but at least 50% should go to the counties. Because that's why now the population is getting their services, Madam Speaker. One other thing is that, Madam Speaker, every time you see our doctors are striking, teachers are striking, because there's no money that is being allocated to them. And it is actually their right. That is annual increment every year. There are many bills in the counties. Well, I can see new clause that is saying that the national government will meet. Let me say, before I quote it, that the inclusion of clause 5 to be the bill to provide that the national government will bear any revenue shortfall, and in case of revenue surplus, the surplus will be applied to pay debts. If you have surplus, then we don't need to have, reduce the money for the counties. But I doubt if there's any surplus here, because we're paying a lot of huge debts, and every time the country is committed to debts. And because of that, there's a lot of wastage. We know, we're not blind. It's only the blind man who doesn't know that there's a lot of wastage. And I think I will agree with the Senator of Nairobi, Mheshimiwa Sifuna, that the necessary expenditures have been done in both cases where the national government is actually using a lot of money. If you're buying flowers and funny things, if you go to our office here, you see a lot of flowers here. Do you really need to have flowers in the offices when the kids are hungry? So we spend a lot of money on necessary things, papers. Someone can afford to buy papers. A senior officer in sitting in an office can afford to buy a nation or it's a standard. You don't need to supply them. That money you need for other uses. Madam Speaker, there are also functions that has been abandoned. We have 42 institutions that are now still performing the functions of the counties. And already it has been approved by the cabinet, including the Kera and the Kura that my friend was talking about, the senator. They are supposed to be actually winding up. They have no business. Their function is supposed to go to counties. But the same organizations and many regional institutions, parastatals, are performing again the same functions of the county, and the National Assembly is allocating funds to them, which is actually wrong. If those things are now winded and the functions go to counties, that same money will have been used for the counties, and we could be able to increase the amount of money going to the counties. Madam Speaker, there are obligations like, the community health promoters This is actually a national program. The national program that has been brought by the national government is actually co-shared again, reducing the amount of money that's going to counties. But what's happening now is, in the most instances, the national government is able to meet its obligation. They pay the 2,500 shillings in time, but the county cannot pay it because they don't have the money. And they are not being given extra money, additional funds for that. And therefore, those people who run around under the Scottish hand, who walk around to go and at least promote health services, are not being paid in time. They get delayed their money almost 4 or 5 months, and therefore, that money should be released immediately. Madam Speaker, one other thing is that there's a lot of duplication of functions. You see, water is the default function. Agriculture is a default function. Health is a default function. But we want to see, when the councils are doing water pans and any boreholes and being drilled, members of Parliament, National Assembly go, take money from the Minister of Water, and they do equal the same job again. I think that kind of wastage can be stopped. Duplication of work can be stopped. If this money goes to the county, then the same work can still be done. And actually the money that is remaining in water and agriculture and health is almost 80% of the budget. What goes to the National Assembly is actually, to the counties, it's just, peanuts. So that kind of duplication of projects should also be done away with, Madam Speaker. One other thing I want to tell the counties. Madam Speaker, if you look at the page 5, the reasons that the National Assembly said that the rejection of the Senate amendments was informed by the following. The most funny thing is the limited fiscal space. The House noted that this increasing the equitable shares allocated to county government to 454 billion for financial year 2026-27 will widen the fiscal deficit. It will increase additional borrowing. So I don't understand that, actually. It's a very wrong perception. There are other things that are actually increasing the borrowing. It is not what we allocate to the counties. And therefore, that is actually not the right thing to be told to the people of Kenya and the Kenyan people. Madam Speaker, to the governors. Governors have turned the counties as a private enterprise. Whatever they do, it's at the product of at the will of the governor. It's only the governor to decide where to put water, what to do, instead of following the appropriate bills. And therefore, actually, our assemblies have failed also to overlook and oversight the counties. Because this is where the appropriation of funds are being done, is at assemblies. But until they wait until the senators talk, until when the senators will now say that what is going on in the counties is unacceptable, we want actually our assemblies to wake up and improve their oversight, because they are the ones who allocate funds, they appropriate the funds, and therefore fund appropriation must be done appropriately so that we can be able to meet the required distribution of funds. And funds must go up to the sub-counties. It must go to the wards. It must go to the locations, so that at least we can have a proper distribution of funds. There's a lot of equitable sharing of sharing of revenues within the county itself. One other thing, Honorable Speaker, is that as much as we appreciate that the national government has committed money to release to the counties, there's a lot of unnecessary delay. That at times it takes 3 months, 4 months for the county to receive their money. So Treasury is actually keeping the money for the counties and delay it unnecessarily until the government are forced to borrow money from banks at a cost. So every bank that they borrow money from the bank, and then at least there's an interest on it. And therefore, I will request the Treasury to actually be committed also to release funds in time, so at least we can afford these many pending bills that the council are incurring. With those few remarks, I beg to support the bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Manzo, I'm giving you the opportunity with the request that you share that time with one more member from the other side. Yes. So you may proceed, so you share with Yes, we will share with the Senator Sige. Thank you.
I'll be very brief, Madam Speaker, because most of the points have been made. Madam Speaker, this Division of Revenue Bill and this negotiated version still face the threshold of the Constitution as to what should be going to the counties. Madam Speaker, there has been a lot of challenges associated with the release of money to counties. There are serious delays from Treasury, and therefore counties are not able to perform in good time. Madam Speaker, there are also pending bills since 2013 in all counties in Kenya, including Makueni, and the new governors find it very difficult to clear with the pending bills, Madam Speaker. And again also, there has been an issue as to oversight of this House, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, I want to say that oversight, there is primary oversight done by the counties, and also secondary oversight done by ourselves, which goes by audited accounts. And every time we summon governors here, they show up, and even for reports which have been presented like this today, we have passed a report which visited the counties by the Committee of Health, and Makueni was one of them. We have made recommendations as to what should happen to the ambulances and many other health issues relating to Makueni County, and I'm very sure we'll be back to these counties, including Makueni, to find out whether the report has been implemented, which is going to be shared to the counties. And therefore, when it comes to funding of counties, Madam Speaker, there is still a challenge. I want to associate myself with the speeches of Sifuna and say that we want all devolved functions devolved fully. If it is agriculture, let's not have functions be held in Nairobi. We are the one dealing with mangoes in Makueni. We are the one dealing with the citrus fruits. But when national government is still holding certain functions and are not devolved fully, then we are unable to devolve the functions and the money to follow. If we devolve the functions and the money, then there will be enough, Madam Speaker, for the counties. Also in the health sector, if we devolve all, health in totality, and devolve the function in totality, and devolve the money, Madam Speaker, we'll still be able to achieve devolution. So in totality, this version, as presented to the House today, fails the test of the Constitution, fails the wishes of the counties, and I do oppose it, and I'll be voting against that. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Sige.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to also add my comments to this particular important bill. First of all, Madam Speaker, I would like to thank the committee comprising of, or rather led by the able chairperson, Senator, Governor, Captain, Party Leader Ali Roba, and the team of the senators who were part of this mediation committee. And Madam Speaker, when the vice chairperson was moving this bill, she took us through the kind of experience that they went through before our counterparts in the National Assembly in terms of the back and forth engagements towards, of course, pushing to enhance the allocation to our counties and ultimately coming up with a figure of 428 billion, which, although we are saying it is not what we had asked for, it is not what this House had passed in its bill that was at 454, it, in terms of what has come out, an achievement and an improvement of the demand on the allocation that they had already pushed before in the House. How I wish they had stayed longer, because noting from her moving notes, she said that they had, that must have been Senator Faki who said they had back and forth. How I wish they had stayed longer, because if every sitting, every break would yield $1 billion, we probably would have gotten more. But nonetheless, I would like to appreciate them and, Madam Speaker, ask them that they have done what the rest of these members in the House would have wanted to do. Madam Speaker, unfortunately, even as we do that, even as we debate this bill today, we are doing that as angels because we are seeking to enhance the resources that are being allocated to our counties. Senator Wambua, while he was contributing earlier on, made reference to the ugly scenes that we sometimes experience in the course of our conducting our oversight mandate before the various committees, or even sometimes when we appear physically in the various counties where we are undertaking our oversight role. Why am I saying that, Madam Speaker? I'm saying it because we have put in a lot of energy as a House to push additional resources to be allocated to our counties. And we, of course, as protectors of devolution under Article 96 of the Constitution, we definitely expect that accountability, which we've said is not an option, and in fact is not available for any other governor or any other person who is running an institution at the county level, to make a choice whether to be accountable to the Senate or to the public in the positions that they are holding or otherwise. But I say we stand here to fight for additional resources to the counties. We definitely then, Madam Speaker, expect that a similar responsibility goes out to the governors to make sure that whatever resources that we do take out there should be put into good use, so that even as we fight as a House, we know that the beneficiaries are the people who are sitting out there in the counties in terms of service allocations that they are getting. And Madam Speaker, in the report, I will just try to run specifically to a number of issues that I picked. I would like to be, in particular, deal with the inclusion of Clause 5 of this particular bill, which cushions the House and cushions also our respective county governments from any kind of responsibility that we would be expected to bear in the event of a shortfall in terms of revenue that would be collected, and similarly, in case of any surplus, the requirement that that surplus revenue that would be made available will be utilized to pay debts. This is one of such clauses that the committee indeed managed to retain, because when you look at the conversation that went on in the National Assembly, their rejection was under two headings: revenue shortfalls and national interest obligations. But the committee managed to make sure that the introduction of Clause 5 is not defeated, and therefore we would expect then all our county governments throughout the financial year will be protected in the event that there is any shortfall. County governments and the allocations that have been given is not going to be affected. And that in itself is one of such responsibilities that the committee indeed protected the devolution and the resources that are available to the county governments. Madam Speaker, secondly, and this is also one of more important concerns that has been raised by colleagues, is with regards to the resources on projects which are co-shared by the national government and the county governments. This is the CAIPs, that is the county aggregation plans, and among others, including also the issue on what do you call the I'm forgetting the term. It's disappearing. Madam Speaker, allow me to just correct this. That is, besides the CPICs, that is the county aggregation, and also the team that is normally the responsibility of the national government, the issue which colleagues have talked about here in terms of the allocation on those roles that are shared by the county governments and the national governments, it is because of the mistrust, I believe, that has gone out there to the county governments, such that when you talk about the allocation, for instance, of 250,000 for purposes of county aggregation and industrial parks, or the community health promoters, as well as the FLOCA, which is one of which, Madam Speaker, yesterday we had one of the committees where we were subjecting governors, including the governor of the county of Bomet, where FLOCA projects which have been funded have been taken over by county governments as though they have been fully funded by the national government. And when you look at the regulations that is coming from the National Treasury, these are supposed to be projects managed and handed over to the community upon their completion. And these are the ones which, of course, when we speak about the joint funding, Madam Speaker, the reason as to why this is going to continue as is to make sure that we protect these joint projects from being taken over by county governments, and because they are continuously funded, control on the resources that are allocated is going to protect service delivery and also misuse of these resources. It speaks back to what I said in terms of the accountability, in terms of those who are in charge of our counties, as well as us at the national level in the role that we are conducting as Oversight House. And so, Madam Speaker, the role that this committee has done, the push that they have maintained to enhance from 415 billion to 428 billion is an improvement of last year's funding, and I therefore support. I want to call upon the colleagues who are also saying that they are not going to support this because we have to protect devolution. The reasons that have been advanced by the National Assembly, as well as the justifications that our counterparts who sat in the mediation committee are sufficient enough to objectively accept the fact that 428 is in itself an improvement of the amount that we got in the previous year. And of course, we should encourage the National Assembly to make sure that in the subsequent financial years, this amount goes up. And we are looking at this because it has been improving from 415 to now 428. We definitely look forward to getting additional allocations in the subsequent years because we are protecting devolution. Madam Speaker, with that, I support and ask colleagues to support this particular bill. It has been brought in good time because there is no way Kara can be dealt with without DORA being passed by this House. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Sigei. Senator Beatrice Ogola.
I thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support the report that has been brought by the Mediation Committee. Madam Speaker, the Mediation Committee was established as an alternative dispute resolution method. And Madam Speaker, it came in as a Senate to bring in the interest of the Senate. And Madam Speaker, the interest of the Senate is primarily to protect the interest of our counties. Madam Speaker, two factors have been raised in this report. One of the factors is the idea of checking on the funding needs of both the counties and the national government, but for our reason, Madam Speaker, we are keen on the funding needs of the county government. Then the mediation also committee looked at the realities as they are. And Madam Speaker, we want to tell even the members of the National Assembly that all of us as Kenyans live in some counties. Our families are members of some counties. And so what affects those counties, Madam Speaker, affect all of us as members, be you in the Senate or whether you are a member of the National Assembly, Madam Speaker. Look at the functions that the counties undertake. A key function like health, Madam Speaker, all our families, wherever they are in our, back at home, get services from the hospitals that we have in the counties. And so that is why I say that we all need to pay attention to counties, whether you are in the National Assembly or whether you are in the county or in the Senate, Madam Speaker. Look at the cost of the provision of health. Madam Speaker, sometimes it is a pity, and we have said it over and over again, that most of these functions were never costed. And we have said it over and over again that a sector like health should never be arbitrarily given resources just based on no costing, Madam Speaker, because it is so key, and it is so key to our people, Madam Speaker. When you walk around in most of our hospitals, most of the time there are no provisions that should be provided in those hospitals. Let me give an example like the sub-district hospital that is in my constituency, in Dewa Referral District Hospital, Madam Speaker. It is a pity that there are complaints wherever that we are in the community now. Either there is no medicine, there's no good attention given to the sick, there is no medicine. Madam Speaker, it is even unfortunate. There are allegations that there are government hospitals that refer patients to private hospitals.
Senator Beatrice Ogola, you will have 17 more minutes when the motion is next scheduled in the afternoon. Honorable Senators, we also have a list of senators who had requested to speak, and this is Senator John Dirito Kenywa, Senator Alexander Mudigi, Senator William Kipkemoi Kisang, Senator Karungo Odangwa, Senator Ali Ibrahim Roba, and Senator Madziah Stewart. This list will be prioritized when the motion comes back in the afternoon. Honorable Senators, it's now 1 p.m. Time to adjourn the House. The Senate therefore stands adjourned until later today, Wednesday, 10th June 2026 at 2:30 p.m. Thank you.
We were looking forward for you. Oh, okay. That's why